Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday evening, giving you the coverage of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, Season 7, Race 9, about to be underway as the drivers head to Sonoma County for the Sonoma Raceway. It is the Wine Country Clash at Sonoma for these drivers. Excited to see who's going to be able to conquer the road course here tonight. We've got some fast contenders to watch out for. Benjamin Nelson, one of the fastest on top of the board, trying to rebound after last week's race. Sorry we were not able to give you the coverage of last week's race, but quick breakdown of what happened last week. The drivers went over to Bristol, where Benjamin Nelson found himself getting the pole position at North Wilkesboro. He led 53 laps, but then fell victim to Ross Tatum and Douglas Newbigging under pit stops. Pit stop strategies where once again saw another driver coming to pit road sooner, lost the opportunity to keep the lead. Track position was very key last week, and over the 166 laps ran, most laps were led by Ross Tatum, 68 in total, and also gave Ross Tatum a win. Another new winner in the series of the WSSR, and it all comes down to this here for Sonoma. Race 9, third to last race of the regular season, and who will make the playoffs is going to be a key question to talk about throughout tonight, as this is going to be a fun race to watch. 40 laps in total, no competition caution, no fast repairs, and 5 sets of tires in pit road, but expect just one pit stop here tonight. My name is Sam Dyer. Welcome to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Joining me is going to be Joshua Altus. And Josh, I know we missed last week, but coming into this week, road course racing, drivers seem to be a little bit nervous out there on track.
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. Great to be back this week. Obviously, we missed everyone last week, but great to be back in the booth. It was a wild one last week at North Wilkesboro, but yeah, like you said, Sam, we're here in wine country, which I believe is close to your hometown, if I'm not mistaken. So, definitely excited to see some of these guys make some lefts and rights tonight.
Yeah, I mean, a great track to go to. I was here during June when NASCAR was at Sonoma and having their race. Actually had the opportunity to meet up with one of the drivers at racing out on track, Ollie Fonseca, for the first time this past June. So a fun track, memorable moments have been made at this course. And for the WSSR, it's time to make some history. The first time the series is ran here, and a first time the series running at a track. This is going to be interesting to see. We also had Texas '09 being the first time this season the WSSR ran at a new track. So who could find themselves in a victory lane? Benjamin Nelson hoping to say that he's grabbed the first wins at both courses, as see the 42 Colt Sacchetti out on track, warming up and starting their first lap here at Sonoma. The drivers are expecting the first lap to be faster, but the second one has potential if you have a little bit more grip to work with, and maybe you get timed perfectly for that second lap, as 42 marching down turn 10, heading towards turn 11, trying to find that little bit of extra speed. And because we are at a road course, the time the drivers are given is now 10 minutes instead of our usual 5. And again, they are still having 2 laps to put down as the 42 crosses the line. Colt Sacchetti, starting number for the drivers, and the one to match out for as the 42 crosses the line for himself. Going to be a quick start for these drivers on how you can get these laps put in. And Josh, qualifying could be a very key factor on who could get the better track position and also could be the better position to win here tonight.
Oh, absolutely, Sam. I mean, qualifying is important wherever we go, right? We talk about, ovals and getting track position, but here at the road course, it is so important to get a good starting spot. I mean, we don't anticipate seeing any cautions tonight, unless maybe possibly there's just a massive pileup blocking the track all the way around. So, generally speaking, what's kind of cool about the road course is it's almost like a control your own destiny in a way. You're actually racing more the track itself than the competition. And 11 turns, a lot of elevation changes, a lot of twists and turns with the S's, and a lot of high speed corners and braking zones. I mean, it's a very difficult track, and I think some of the ringers can really shine tonight.
They really could. And as well as we're under a longer qualifying times, allows us to talk about the amazing sponsors that help out here at the WSSR. Starting things off with our title sponsor, Roasted Gems Coffee. Roasted Gems Coffee has been the title sponsor for WSSR for the last couple of seasons. And if you want to start your day off right with premium quality coffee, well, remember to go to roastedgems.com Use the promo code WSSR for 5% off on their wide range of variety of flavors. Thank you to Roasted Gems Coffee for being the title sponsor of the WSSR Cup Series. And as well, Trophy Smack. With the season closing to the end, it is time for these drivers to get prepared to grab the Trophy Smack trophy, which is going to be the first time in the last couple of seasons of actually having a custom trophy made. Last 2 seasons, it's been a ring that was also made at TrophySmack.com. And if you'd like to get yourself a custom trophy for fantasy football that's just started up, or for your sim racing needs, well, head over to TrophySmack.com and use the promo code WSSR Smack for 10% off. Thanks so much to the Trophy Smack for being another major sponsor. And as we're under qualifying, big shout out to Brandon Colley's mom for sponsoring the qualifying results. Gotta be proud, Brandon Colley 5th on the board currently, but the drivers about to set their second lap time, and let's see if they can advance in position.
Yeah, when we said there's 10 minutes of time here, Sam, it sounds like a lot of time, but it's really not, because, I mean, about a minute 16 to get around this place. By the time you have your warm-up lap and you run 2 laps, you really don't have a ton of time to wait around. So where 10 minutes feels like a lot, we're already halfway through the session.
We are halfway through the session and already drama-filled here for qualifying. Zach Hall has out-qualified Benjamin Nelson. Nelson sits in pit road. Hall has finished out his qualifying times, and it's a 1:16.25, being just under 1/10 faster Zach Hall over Benjamin Nelson. Christopher Norris almost a full half a second slower than Zach Hall. Our top 2 in their own little world, really, when you look at the lap times from qualifying to also practice. Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson have been the top 2 drivers. They knew they were going to be the top 2. The question is, how is this first lap going to develop? Can Benjamin Nelson get by Zach and other drivers trying to just get prepared for today's race? The 08 of Brian with an I Johnson out on track. Now, Brian with an I joining with Noah Steele after last week's race, hit with an argue brake penalty. So both of them are going to have to start at the tail end of the line, but are unable to qualify to be as ahead as they can in their box for pit road. And another driver hit with an EOL going to be Noah Hicks, who's hit with a cause of 3 cautions and also given an EOL, as it's currently Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson, Christopher Norris, your top 3. Cole Seghetti up to 5th. And some of the last drivers really to put in a time, looking like majority of them are now just practicing getting into pit road, as Larry Yingling, 4 minutes left in qualifying, still trying to put in their first lap. And here we go, seeing the slipping and sliding. This was a factor drivers were talking about. Looseness. This track feels like you're on ice, and the 67 proving it as he's whipping it around the downhill S's.
Yeah, Larry's got his hands full as he's entering turn 11 here. That got to get a real high braking corner here, get a nice little arc as he gets a run off turn 11 here, heading back toward the start finish line, and we'll see where he goes up on the board as he hits the start finish line right here.
Larry Yingling, that's a quick time for himself. That is going to be close enough into our top 5. 5th place for the 67. That's a 1:16.829. Still over a half a second slower than Zach Hall. But the pace he's going, Mike Trejo attempt for his second lap. 3 minutes left in qualifying. Might as well give it another go. If you're down in 5th, I mean, there's still a chance to find that little bit of extra speed.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's really nothing to lose. You got a good solid spot. But I want to go back real quick, Sam, to talk about Zach Hall here. That might not look like a lot necessarily to the viewers being first instead of second, but I mean, that could be massive for this race. It gives Zach control on the start of the race, and if he can get out front, sometimes if you can just get out front, get in some clean air, and kind of run your own pace, I mean, that's a pretty big deal for Zach to be sitting on the provisional pole right now.
It also puts a lot of pressure on Zach Hall because he came into this race as Larry Yingling very close to touching the dirt. I think I saw a little bit scrape up. That means that this lap is in question of being invalidated, and I think it was, as he sends it right into pit road, practicing an aggressive pit stall. And that's the time to practice it. That was very neat and tidy with how aggressive that pit stall was for Larry Yingling.
Yeah, that was fun to watch, Sam. I mean, we talked about it. Right before we came on air, we were talking about maybe around 30 laps for fuel, which it's a pretty short race, as we see The number 18 practicing his James Heater, his entry too. A little calmer than Larry Yingling, but we're anticipating only a one stop tonight. So I mean that could be very important as well, Sam. Trying to hit your marks and get every little bit you can coming to pit road.
And you might be wondering, as the audience members, well, why are they being so fast into that entry? Won't they be penalized? Well, the cones that deem how slow you need to be for pit road speed is all the way at the end of that corner. So you can enter as fast as you want. It's more of at risk on how fast you want to be before you have to drop your speed to 45 miles per hour for the pit road speed. So any little bit could be a massive gain at the end of the day, as Benjamin Nelson's still out on track and he's trying to attempt one more go around as the time is ticking away. We got a minute and 20 seconds left in qualifying, and just being neat and tidy around is Benjamin Nelson through the S's and over the crest as he makes the march down to turn number 10. And one of the quickest corners, and probably a corner we're going to see the most mistakes, is right here at corner 10. It's a fast right-hander, but it pushes out in the dirt. A lot of mistakes usually made there.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that these drivers are going to be focusing tonight is just trying to stay on the track, Sam. I mean, it sounds easy, but it's really not. Especially if you're pushing the limits to your car. It's really easy to slip a tire off and get in that dirt. And let me tell you that car does not like dirt compared to the pavement there. So that's why I say almost racing the track is going to be you know, harder than racing the cars itself. You know, if you can just stay on the track, you might be able to get yourself a pretty good finish tonight.
You certainly could. And another factor we to watch out for is the weather. Cooling down of the track, giving a little bit of extra grip, could be helping these lap times and the drivers staying on track. During practice, the temperature was around that of 102 to 103 degrees. Well, it's dropped as we are now in the 1 p.m. range in sim, and it's now down to 101 degrees Fahrenheit, ambient temperature 79, partly cloudy, and the wind is what's more so aggressive to watch out for as qualifying is officially done. Big thanks to Brandon Colley's mom for being our qualifying grid sponsor. But how's the wind going to be affecting these drivers as they're in the hills of Sonoma and prepared for tonight's race, the Wine Country Clash at Sonoma Raceway, about to get underway. A little bit of a smaller field than what we've seen before, but let's get ready to take a look at our qualifying results here for race number 9, the WSSR Rosa Gems Cup Series. Happy to have you back on Freaking Fast Broadcasting. I know we had our break last week. We're happy to take you on this ride here tonight. Zach Hall taking the pole award with Benjamin Nelson to his outside. Christopher Norris going to be in row 2 and 3rd with Cole Sketty in 4th. Larry Yingling in 5th. Brandon Colley in 6th. Nick Crawford in 7th. Brian P. Johnson in 8th. 9th is Cedric Connor. And Isaiah Sutherland finishing out our top 10.
And just outside the top 10, starting 11th, will be John Forbes, our Bristol winner. To his outside will be the number 16 of Joshua Canada. 13th will be Brian Noel. 14th will be Ross Tatum, who was our winner from last week at North Woodsboro. Starting 15th will be Chris Stitz. 16th will be James Heater in the 18th. Starting 17th will be Aaron Krolick. To his outside will be Shane Tyrion in the number 9, rolling off P18. Starting in the 19th position will be the 24 of Ali Fonseca, and rounding out the top 20 will be the 7th car of Douglas Newbigin.
Then Christopher Wade in 21st position with Tyler Dangler in 22nd. For that 19 machine, James Kaufman in 23rd, and Jonathan Coxwell in 24th. Brian with an I Johnson in 25th. Nick Holland 26th. Ken Gamble 27th. Noah Steele 28th. 29th, excuse me, will go to Brad Delp. And like we said, Brian with an I Johnson, and Noah Steele and Nolan Hicks all going to be hit with an EOL penalty. They'll be starting at the end of the line here tonight as the drivers are rolling away, about to get ourselves started here tonight. It's going to be a full lap of pacing. And Josh, this track, a little bit under 2 miles in length, but certainly a lot of character that the driver's going to have to deal with.
Oh, definitely a lot of character, Sam. And, you know, road course racing is just a different beast. And, you know, we've seen it even in the real life Cup Series, how, you know, how how strong you have to be at the road courses now, just because it's not like it used to be where you only have a couple road courses a year. So I'm looking forward. This is a big opportunity for some of our road course ringers here, and even guys throughout the field. You know, even if they're not running toward the front, I mean, it's a great opportunity to try to do something a little different, stay on track, and even if you can get a top 10, top 15 out of it, that might be a solid day for some of these guys.
Could be the one and only road course of the season, and for road course ringers, this is your best chance to try to settle in and get into the playoffs, maximize your points. You only have Sonoma here tonight, Dover next week, and then in 2 weeks at Charlotte before our regular season is done. And the top 16 in points find themselves racing for a championship. We do have a couple of drivers outside of our top 16 to have a win, being John Forbes and Ross Tatum after last week's adventure, and it's going to be bumping out now, making our top 14 drivers in points to have an opportunity to run for a championship. And for some people here tonight, could you find yourself in a victory lane, or will we see a repeat winner? It looks to be Zach Hall trying to get himself in a victory lane. Could tonight be the night that he finally does it for season 7, or will Benjamin Nelson find himself being getting his third win of the season? Time to find out. Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy. It's the Wine Country Clash, race number 9 for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. We're underway. Zach Hall as well as Benjamin Nelson side by side through turn 1. Quick turn 1 where drivers are slipping and sliding. Benjamin Nelson gets loose. Zach Hall pulls away as they turn up into turn number 2.
Ooh, big wiggle there by Benjamin Nelson on the start there, Sam. He did a really good job keeping his car under him there, but Zach Hall on the hole shot to the lead.
To the lead, side by side, going on between 5th and 6th position. And oh no, it's going to be Brian Noel spun around for the 77 as the drivers crest over to that of 3B. That third corner can be tricky at times, and the 77 parked, but going to be rolling here quickly, and everyone up front pretty much single filing out as the field is side by side for 8th place, that of John Forbes and Brian Johnson. As they stay side by side through the S's, this is not a comfortable zone for either driver.
No, that was really heads up driving there by Brian P. Johnson. Just go ahead and give the spot to the 11 car. You do not want to be side by side in the S's there, Sam. So good heads up driving by the 28 early.
Brilliant call by themselves. Also reports a driver starting on pit road out of Cedric Hunter and Brad Delph. Both decided to start on pit road for today's race. They were expecting a lot of calamity in the first going. There wasn't there, as Ross Tatum, winner from last week at North Wilkesboro, survived the caution fest and allowed himself to be locked in the playoffs for now. As we move up to the battle between Chris Stitz and 17, running a new scheme for himself, and as well, battling side by side with Isaiah Sutherland, who's been one of the standout drivers since showing up a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I've been really impressed by Isaiah Sutherland coming out here, so interested to see how he's going to do on the road course racing. I have really no knowledge of any of his road course racing prowess, but so far doing a great job up in 10th place so far.
Doing a great job so far as we hop on board with Isaiah Sutherland, get a sense on what it's like to run a little bit here in the cockpit view down into turn number 7. This is the top of the S's for these drivers. You make your way down, and drivers have been picking and choosing where they're going to feel the most comfortable gear-wise throughout this race. Some feel like they're going to be marching a lot more in third, some surging in the slower corners in second gear, some maybe staying in fourth, trying to go with a fuel-saving run. Looks like for Isaiah Sutherland, he is going full bore as he gets close to the outside rumble strips and keeps it on track.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Sutherland, you can see him how he's utilizing these rumble strips, and it's interesting to see different kind of strategies on how drivers run road courses. I know those rumble strips kind of help the cars turn at times, but you have to hit them a certain way, because if you don't hit them right, it can actually upset the car and it can actually get you in trouble. So Isaiah Sutherland doing a really good job so far.
Doing a great job, and for the lead, Benjamin Nelson had the big wiggle and slide, but he's fought back to be on the rear bumper of Zach Hall. And the 32, as well as the 79, Christopher Norris has been keeping pretty close. Within a second of our front 2 drivers. Behind them, Cole Sacchetti, even a neat, tidier top 4 well-known road course drivers that have been quick at road courses. We've seen it in many different leagues. Zach Hall has won at road courses here for the WSSR. Benjamin Nelson has been quick in the past, the PK3 series, and Christopher Norris in the ISRC series has been decently quick. But it's the 42 of Cole Sakitty, who has been probably the fastest on Tuesday nights when it comes to road courses. I was curious if he can pull that Xfinity speed here. It's a Wednesday night in the Gen 4.
Yeah, road course racing is such a unique set of skills. So you really see certain guys shine, right? We call them the road course ringers. But I'm really impressed with a lot of these guys early, Sam, because I'll be honest with you, I thought, Benjamin Nelson or Zach Hall would just kind of check out and run away. And, our top 4, top 5 is pretty close together. So, Christopher Norris doing a really good job hanging there in P3. I think Benjamin Nelson's being really, really patient with Zach Hall right now. But Zach looks like he's putting some really good times together right now. So interested to see how close this top 5 stays together.
Right now, you look at the fastest laps that have been put down tonight. It's between Zach Hall and Christopher Norris. Zach with a 1 minute, 17 second, .030. And for Christopher Norris, it was a 17 second, .058. So very close on times. Everyone else about 2 to 3 tenths slower on their fastest laps. Could that be hurting these drivers as one driver completely off track? Ollie Fonseca back in 17th position, had a huge gallivant through the dirt in the 24. Right now has lost over 8 positions and could be losing more as everyone's locking up in turn number 7.
Yeah, you see him lock up the front bridge right there, and I can tell you from experience, Sam, there's nothing more frustrating as a driver when you kind of break your rhythm, you get run off the track a little bit. You got to kind of settle back in and lock back in, and Ollie's a really good road course racer as well. So I'm sure he's just trying to get settled back in after being off track. But yeah, I mean, if you like we talked about, if you can just race the track and try to minimize mistakes, a lot of possibilities for having good runs tonight.
The driver known for being around Sonoma, that's Tyler Dangler, who is also very close to Sonoma Raceway. Got to meet up when I met with Ollie. Also was hanging out with Tyler during that adventure, and this 19 machine, one of our producers' favorite schemes to look at, the snake in the Ford. But he's having a bad entry to turn 2, almost wiping out Douglas Newbigging, as Tyler has to get back into that rhythm we were talking about. So easy to make mistakes, especially on that switchback move of your hands crossing over one another through turns 1 up to turn 2.
Yeah, and Tyler did a smart thing right there, even though he had a chance to run off track right there. He pumped the brakes. He didn't quite have the corner he wanted, but he was able to keep himself on the racetrack and could have lost a lot more time there. So.
We've lost many more time there as Rattle with the 101, of Aaron Kralik, 15th position. He's got Douglas Newbigging behind him. And right now, Kralik up 2 spots from where he qualified, and just staying on course is the main thing for this 0-1. And currently in 15th position, not a bad place to be if you're Aaron, especially coming into tonight's race where a lot of unknowns for drivers. Were they going to be fast? What was the competitiveness going to be? Because we talk about WSSR, it's kind of turned into our all-star race, you could say, of all our different league drivers coming in together and running. And with this being our one and only road course of the season, it's good knowledge to be taken in on it. Who could be quick next season if we go to a road course? As we take a look at our points leader being Shane Terrian back in 13th place.
Shane Terrian rocking the Evil Controllers paint scheme, the patent black and green scheme we're used to seeing him in, Sam. We saw him run a different scheme, I think the old kind of Everham red scheme a couple weeks ago, and we had a hard time spotting him because we're so used to that black and green scheme. But yeah, Shane doing a great job. He's got a win so far this season. Runs on a controller. We always like to highlight, so doing a good job back here in P13 so far.
Back in P13 and trying to get himself back inside of the top 10. The only race he didn't finish inside of the top 10 was Las Vegas. Every other race, though, in the top 10, 7 out of the 8 races this season. Shane has been up front. That's why he's our points leader at this current moment. He's got a 31-point gap over Larry Yingling, who's second in points. Crazy to see the controller driver and how well he's running. And another driver who's trying to find some more consistency. Currently 5th in points, it's Brian P. Johnson in 8th place. And right now hasn't moved up, hasn't lost touch. The driver's ahead of him. And right now just we've been stating, we're going to say it a lot here tonight, running the race instead of the drivers around them.
Yeah, just doing a really good job so far. Running back here in P8, kind of got spread out a little bit. He's got several cars right there in front of him, which is always nice to have, Sam. I like to have that when I'm at a road course, having some guys directly in front of me, because you kind of use them as kind of almost your braking point at times, and it's I feel like you can go a little bit quicker when you're kind of judging your braking points off some guys right in front of you rather than just being completely by yourself. So, yeah, really good job so far for Brian P. Johnson, solidly up inside the top 10.
Let him be your guidance and let him take you forward as take a look. 774, big seeing that of Vic Crawford in 7th place, trying to get by Brandon Colley, Larry Yingling. These three drivers run a lot, technically all four of them run around one another a lot under outside of this league under the same banner of category 5 as Colley. Bad wiggle out of the exit turn 11 gives the opening for Crawford to go on by, but they had to split up as a team coming into WSSR season 7, kind of splitting up the band, but in other leagues they are usually all grouped up. And when you got a group of drivers that you really know, that you've been running around for years with, I gotta say, Josh, it's always interesting on how neat, tidy, or if they're gonna be aggressive driving around one another.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, Sam. Like, I feel like it comes up a lot, when we're covering these races, right? Because you talked about this being kind of an all-star mesh series, and a lot of the guys that run in different leads tend to find each other in groups, right? And so, yeah, you can kind of look at it two different ways. I mean, the first advantage is you're kind of used to having, being around those guys and having an idea of how they race, so you can kind of anticipate, certain situations, what kind of moves they're going to make and whatnot. But then sometimes you feel like you can use them up a little bit too, because you're just used to running with them.
Yeah, we're just buddies at the end of the day. As let's take a look at Ross Tatum, running back in 11th place, trying to close in on Isaiah Sutherland, but could be losing touch. Instead, it's Joshua Kanata, who's been looking decently quick here this evening. Wasn't sure what the pace was going to be like for the 16. Was talking with him right before the broadcast and during practice. The confidence level was not there heading into tonight. Felt like the car was on ice skates on this track. Wasn't sure on if the grip was going to stay with these vehicles throughout the race. And right now, gotta say, Josh is doing decently well. He's staying where he qualified in 12th place, and hey, a top 15 run isn't bad with the level of caliber of drivers that we have here in the WSSR.
Yeah, not bad at all. I think, honestly, it looks like Joshua and Ross are kind of in the same boat, so to say. You said you spoke to Josh. I actually spoke to Ross before the race, and he said something very similar. He said he's not a road course guy. He's happy he got his win last week, and if he could just have a solid top 15 finish, stay on the track, he will take that and get out of here. So it's kind of funny talking to different drivers and, what they consider a good night, right? Like, these guys just won a top 15, and then you talk to Zach Hall or Benjamin Nelson, and it's pretty much win or bust. So it's kind of funny, with all the different agenda these drivers have coming in here tonight.
It certainly is. As watching the 17 Chris Ditz trying to get by Shane Terrian. Update for drivers deeper in the field. Brian Noel, that of Brad Delph in the 6. Both drivers have called it a night early as they were caught up in early incidences in the first 5 laps. Jonathan Cogswell had to spend time in pit road and is back into pit road for the 27. It's been a rough run overall. So 26 drivers on the lead lap currently, but a factor that I kept on harping on because I was looking at it during practice, the lap times, they were so dramatically different. If you looked at first place all the way down to around 20th, it was about a 6-second difference, meaning we could be seeing lap traffic become a big factor here tonight if Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson, Christopher Norris, Cole Sketty, those front 4, catch up to lap cars at a bad point during this race. It can open up a chance for a lead change or even calamity to strike.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Sam. You don't really think of lap cars as being an issue at road courses, right? But with how fast these leaders are putting down times, I mean, we're already about a 4th way through this race as Zach Hall is bringing them back to the line to complete lap 10 right now. The pace is so much faster by these leaders than some of these guys, deeper in the field. So you're exactly right. I mean, with the race having a green flag look to it, with these guys being spread out, I mean, they could run up on some slower traffic, and if these guys are battling for the lead late, I mean, that could be a factor in who wins this thing.
Gotta continue to watch out as the first car that Zach Hall and Benjamin Nelson are going to catch up to is going to be the 5-lap down driver. Going to be, oh no, Douglas Newbigin issues down the S's for the 7 as he tries to get back out on course safely. Sees James Heater get by. Back on course is the 7, and big slip up for Douglas Newbigin, who was around up front, I think in around 17th place before that spin. And drivers caught up in issues. I looked back and saw it was just the self spin, went over the rumble strips wrong, and the 7 losing the rear end all on his own. And that's so easy to have as the 25 of Kaufman closing in on the gap.
Yeah, it's so frustrating when that happens, Sam. Like we talked about, you know, it's easy to, as we take a look at the replay here. Yeah, just hits the rumble strips, kind of gets the car upset a little bit right here, and yeah, I mean, let's let the back end just kind of kicked out from underneath him there, and you're just kind of along for the ride at that point. And then he did a really good job because you know, your natural instinct is you want to get back on the track, you know, ace that, but you got to be careful of some of those cars coming around. So, you know, I'm sure Douglas is pretty frustrated, but, you know, hopefully he can settle back in here and put some good times down.
Trying to resettle, get back into that rhythm, and take off. Has fallen all the way down to 24th position is Douglas Newbigin. And back to that point I was going to bring up of where lap cars are compared to our leader of Zach Hall. Well, Zach Hall is just cresting over 3B. Well, Jonathan Cogswell, the first lap car that Zach's going to deal with, was going into turn 4. So drivers are very close between lead lap and lap cars. And how's that factor going to change up this race? Or will it even become a factor? Because drivers coming into pit road, they are technically inside of the window. Pit now, and you can take it to the end.
I think one thing we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on, Sam, is just this pit stop that we talked about. We're anticipating it only being a one-stop race, but with how close Benjamin Nelson and Zach Hall are running to each other right now, that could be a huge difference too. And when do you pit? And I often think about, you'll probably remember this as well, Sam. I remember the one race Martin Truex Jr. was leading, and they were, you know, calling out code words and telling them not to pit when that actually meant to pit. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see when the drivers pit and how aggressive they try to get to pit road, and that could ultimately make the difference on who gets out front and could win this thing.
I think so as well. Jonathan Cogswell was that driver in pit road that you saw as we were watching Cole Sacchetti. Other passes made on track. Nick Crawford has been able to get by Larry Yingling, who has fallen now to 7th for the 67. Tire wear starting to show face now as we are 13 laps into the run. They start out this race with it being slick and slidey. Well, it seems to be getting worse for some drivers as we fall back to our Bristol winner, John Forbes, 9th place right now for the 11. A solid day for Forbes, who's up 2 positions from where he qualified.
Yeah, not a bad day at all. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with running top 10 at the road course, Sam, and especially if you got a little open track in front of you. You see a couple guys ahead. You see Brandon Colley here right in front of John Forbes running P8 here, and then Larry Yingling right in front of him. So nice little group of cars right here, and everyone's kind of just minding their business and just locking laps right now.
They see an opening, they give space to the driver behind and take off. Jonathan Cogswell, who we saw enter pit road under a last shot of Cole Sacchetti, he has officially called it a night. So we are down to just 26 drivers out on track. And Tyler Dangler has issues off the exit of turn 3. And while that issue was popping up, Benjamin Nelson saw an opening and made the pass through turn 11 on Zach Hall. And the 79 finally in the spot he felt like he was going to be from the start of the race. It took him 14 laps, but Benjamin Nelson has got the point.
Yes, he does, and I was just watching that battle, Sam, and it looks like Zach Hall just got a little too hot into turn 11 there, kind of ran himself wide, and Benjamin Nelson took advantage, and just like that, one little mistake as they've caught lap traffic now, our first car here, Benjamin Nelson gets around them, and Zach Hall follows in suit, but one little mistake, Sam, that's all it took. Zach Hall's run a flawless race so far, with just one little mistake, and now he's lost the lead.
He's lost the lead, and their next couple of victims to watch out for are going to be James Kaufman and Douglas Newbigin, who both have been struggling out on track, expected to be caught in the next 3 to 4 laps, which is going to be around that time that we might be seeing drivers that want to do an undercut will come into pit road, which is an undercut is pitting before the driver in front of you. Or could we be seeing drivers try to extend out this run, go until lap 25, maybe even 28? The fuel that we were given was around 30 laps. that you could be driving for some of the drivers in the middle of the field. Now, those faster drivers, maybe they'll have to hit around lap 28. That's furthest that their fuel will let them extend. Let's see, Noah Steele, I believe that's Ollie Fonseca, that's going to be Nolan Hicks. Very close to one another as they continue to battle their way forward. But pit stops going to be interesting because we're about 12 to 10 laps from these drivers coming into pit road if they're extending their fuel. Otherwise, we're within 5 laps.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, Sam, to see the different strategies play out because, if we were at an oval or something, we see guys run it long, right, to, try to maybe hope they catch a caution and can gain some trap position. But with how things are spread out, we don't anticipate seeing any yellows tonight. So I'm not sure necessarily what the benefit would be in staying out longer unless you just want to have the absolute freshest tires at the end. The strategy I always would kind of go by is like if I'm in a pack of cars like we're seeing Ollie Fonseca battle right now, it might be an opportunity to get away from a pack, so to say, and kind of get yourself in some clean air. But yeah, it should be interesting to see what different strategies these drivers use tonight.
Noah Steele goes wide on the exit of turn 2, gives the opportunity. Ollie Fonseca, Noah Hicks. It's blasting through up to now, going to be 17th and 18th as Noah falls back to 19th position. And in front of this group, Cedric Hunter able to get by Aaron Kralik. Hunter, one of the drivers that decided to start on pit road for today's race, was all the way back in 28th position when this race started, now up to 15th. And if we look at just those numbers from where you start the race to where you are now, Cedric Hunter, one of the biggest movers of the race so far. He has done a fabulous job. He originally qualified in 9th, still has a lot of work to get up to that 9th position.
Yeah, really, really strong effort so far by Cedric Hunter as we see who's at the 01 coming to pit road, Sam.
It's Aaron Kralik going to be the first driver to hit pit road for himself. You can see that front left damage Kralik is dealing with, and he's going to have to come in pit road. May get that damage repair, might think otherwise. Damage is not the biggest thing to worry about. As one driver, though, in heavy concern. That's the 53 of Christopher Wade, who I believe is about to get disqualified from the race because he had a required damage flag and never went to pit road. Christopher Wade, who was running in 18th position, his race most likely done.
Yeah, interesting to see what happened there, Sam. I don't know if he got off track and had an incident or whatever, but that's a tough break for Christopher Wade. Like we said, the road courses, they give and they take, and looks like we had somebody off track right there. Is that Nick Crawford?
Nick Crawford. That's the 74. And as well, the 08 going to be involved with a wreck, and it looked to be major collision between the slower driver and a faster driver of Nick Crawford. Brian Johnson, and both Brian Johnsons were involved with this one. As you take a look, this is a replay of what just brought out that incident. Get the 08, Brian with an I Johnson. He's a lap down driver. Nick Crawford runs into him. Brian with a Y Johnson runs in. And it's Brian with an I that's able to blast away, and then quick squeeze for those 3 drivers. And also looks like for Sutherland, he sees part. Ross Tatum gets by as well. And what could have been even a bigger collision, it hurts Nick Crawford the most. As we take another look, Brian with an I Johnson's much slower driver, just running his own pace, while Crawford runs in, piles, and it's Brian Johnson with an I, 28 machine. It will just scoop, say, well, that was a interesting disaster to deal with.
Yeah, that was a scary moment, Sam. That happened right in that little area you talked about pre-race, about how dangerous that area can be. And it looks like Nick Crawford just caught the slower car of Brian Johnson, maybe a little quicker than he anticipated, and he had Brian P. Johnson behind him, and that could have been a lot worse. Kudos to those guys that kind of shot the gap there and split them. So that was a heads up as you see Nick Crawford coming to pit road.
Crawford into pit road. Another driver that just had a major scare was Tyler Dangler, who is continuously going off track. It looks like his tires are completely shot for the 19. But Crawford now going to get service done. And, this is around that window. If you're going to do an undercut, you could come into pit road now. But I would imagine for the 74, that was not how he wanted to get by the lap car.
Yeah, definitely not. That was he had a strong night going, and unfortunately just kind of got bottlenecked up right there right before the final turn, and lost a lot of time there. So hopefully get some fresh tires on that thing and see if he can make up some ground.
Well, as those incidences have been piling in, it's enabled our lead lap drivers to put more drivers a lap down. Tyler Dangler now a lap down. Eric Kralik, James Kaufman have fallen down to the victim of Brian with Benjamin Nelson and Zach Hall as Christopher Norris in third. We don't talk about Norris very often when we talk about road courses because he's usually out of the drama unless you watch the ISRC Sonoma race on Monday nights almost a month ago now. Christopher Norris, Trent Junk, as well as Ryan Bird all had a fantastic battle for second place where Norris went a little bit off track into turn 4, but it's 38 known for being very consistent at the road courses, still within 5 seconds of our leaders, and this is impressive to see from 38 machine, but he's got heavy traffic. It's the lap cars right in front of him as Kaufman slow through the corner, hurts Christopher Norris on almost a full second loss, and now the 38 has to figure out a rebound.
Yeah, unfortunately, just kind of caught the 25 there. The wrong place, wrong time, Sam. And you said it. I mean, he lost almost a full second right there, just running up on the lap car, and that could be the difference. We've talked about it tonight, and if the leader runs up on a lap car, and Zach Hall is somewhat within earshot still, only about a second and a half behind him. You saw just with Christopher Norris there how much of a difference then made just catching the lap car at the wrong spot. But yeah, he's doing a great job tonight. He's minus the lap cars there, he's kind of in his own bubble. I mean, he's almost 6 seconds in front, over 6 seconds in front of Cole Sacchetti here in 4th place. So really solid night for the 38 so far.
Very solid night so far. Back in 23rd position and 24th, that's Nolan Hicks and Noah Steele that have made their pit stop. The one at Brandon Colley going to be the first of the drivers that were inside of our top 10 to hit pit road right when we are about to come over that halfway zone. And I got to say, this one machine feeling confident. What a solid run it's been for Brandon Colley staying inside of our top 10.
Absolutely. Brandon Colley, our Darlington winner. Little win, give you a little confidence, Sam, and all of a sudden you're running top 10 at Sonoma. So really solid run tonight for Brandon Colley. He's in for his pit stop about halfway through the race now, and we'll get some fresh tires on the number 1 machine and try to keep clicking off some fast laps.
Other drivers into pit road, Isaiah Sutherland, John Forbes, as well as Ross Statham, Cedric Hunter just hitting pit road, Ollie Fonseca joining in to the grouping. And this is around that halfway zone for drivers. Some pit on this lap, others the next. And here comes our leader, Benjamin Nelson, as well as Zach Hall joining in. Christopher Norris pit this lap. He will as well, as the top 3 come in together into pit road. It's Cole Sacchetti extending it out one more lap. He wants that 1 lap advantage on tires for the rest of this race.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, he's a little far behind these top 3, so why not try to get a little off cycle, a little fresher tires, and we can pay some dividends for him.
As race control given the cross, it's now the halfway zone, and big thanks to race control being Steve Benjamin. As more issues with lap cars, Chris Stitz in 9th place having an issue with the 08 of Brian with an eye Johnson. Another incident hitting with the lap car, which that was the thing we're going to be talking about a lot here late in the race. How is lap traffic going to influence this run? The 17 grabbing some right side damage that he did not want to have.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, to the extent of the damage, but yeah, you can see the crinkle on his right front fender there, Sam. So generally speaking, road course racing, it's okay if you get a little banged up here and there, but yeah, Chris Stitz will hope to settle back in.
And coming out of pit road is Brian Johnson. Also coming in at pit road on this previous lap, Shane Tarian, Ken Campbell, James Heater making their stops. As they're leaving into pit road is going to be seeing Ken Campbell and others. Shane Tarian, the Evil Controllers, number 9, leaves and exits. Going to be in 14th, but we're still waiting on Chris Stitz to make his stop. Joshua Kanata, as well as Larry Yingling, as Cole Sacchetti makes his go, and a chance to see how fast the 42 stop can be. But Larry Yingling staying out for an extra now 2 laps over our leaders that were leading of Benjamin Nelson and Zach Hall.
And this is what we talked about, Sam. If Larry Yingling feels like he's got some open track here and can put some decent times down, I mean, it could work out for him to have a little bit of fresher tires and you know, that's what you want to do. Is you just want to maximize your time, obviously, around this road course. And if you can find yourself having a clean little spot, you know, it's kind of hard to peel off the track and you know, risk kind of putting yourself back into a traffic situation. So Larry Yingling just, you know, trying to maybe just lead a lap. I don't know if these guys get a bonus point for points or not for leading a lap, but I mean, add some points possibly, and just trying to maximize your time.
They do get a bonus point for leading the laps, and that could be a crucial thing to grab for Larry Yingling, who's trying to close in the gap on Shane Terrian again. The gap in points between first in points Shane Terrian and Larry Yingling, 31 points. And based off positioning currently, Larry's been the faster of the two. As he gets by James Kaufman and others, expecting to see the 67 hit pit road now as Chris Ditz has left pit road. Joshua Kanata has made his service. This is the last driver we're expecting is Larry Yingling, and he stays out for another lap. The only other driver that's still out on track yet to pit is James Kaufman, who's one lap down back at 20th.
Wow, little surprising to me to see Larry Yingling continue to stay on track, but hey, I mean, like we said, if you can just maximize your time and you've got some clean space in front of you, wait a little while and you'll have the freshest tires for the last 10.
He's being pressured by the driver to have fresher rubber currently, and that's Noah Steele trying to unlap himself for the 88 behind, as well as James Kaufman trying to close in the gap. And last time by, Noah Steele was about almost a full second faster than Larry Yingling, as Steele goes extremely wide and has to really jolt that machine back to the right, keep off the wall. That turn 4 wall is always so dangerous. You think back to NASCAR races, used to have a camera set up right there, expecting drivers to hit it.
Yeah, I thought he was about to absolutely kill that wall, Sam. So really good job by that driver to just jerk it to the right, or yeah, to the right at the last second and avoid hitting the wall there.
As we look at some of the other drivers out on track, 21st position was that Tim Campbell, with Zach Hall trying to close and catch up to Benjamin Nelson. And also, it's crazy to think, as Kaufman heads to pit road, Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson, they were running so fast. They're about to get their position back on Larry Yingling. It is only a 2.5 second difference. And at the rate that we're seeing the speed, Benjamin Nelson, who just put down one of the fastest laps of the race, just put down the fastest lap of the race. The 76 is about to make a pass, but watch out. Noah Steele in the dirt off the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, and that's what's scary for Benjamin Nelson right now, Sam, is he's flying right now. He just put the fastest lap down, as you just alluded to, and now he's got to kind of be heads up and watch these drivers in front of him and make sure, even if he doesn't make a mistake, he wants to make sure these guys don't make a mistake in front of him and gets caught up into something that's not his doing. So kind of a different challenge here as he's having to tackle these lap cars.
Down through the S's, as we've lost another driver here tonight, that of Nolan Hicks has called it an evening for the 86 machine. But down to turn 9, quick left-hander, setting up turn 10, the right-hander where you're expecting to get the massive run off the corner. Keep your speed set up, the hard braking zone into turn number 11. Little divot, hard on the brakes as Larry Yingling forcing the more shallow entry for the 79, and Larry Yingling now into pit road, finishing out, and was just waiting for a leader to make the pass, to make the call to pit road, and now we'll try to burn off all the rubber with 16 laps to go. Nelson, 3.5 seconds ahead of Zach Hall, and he hopes to keep that lead as big as possible. And for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll give you the rest of the coverage here for race number 9, the Wine Country Clash at Sonoma Raceway. It's been a pleasure to give you all the action here for the WSSR Roast and Gems Cup Series. We'll be back for more coverage on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. 5 wide behind her pit.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes.
Oh,
no, Carter gets wrecked. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity diving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck
Oh,
him.
they wrecked! They wrecked each other! The top 2 bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they gotta be careful. Oh no! The 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. Race number 9 is underway for the Wine Country Clash at Sonoma Raceway. For WSSR, we're proud to have all the amazing sponsors that help out week in and week out. Start things off with Roasted Gems Coffee. Roasted Gems Coffee, a sponsor that's been helping out the WSSR for the last couple of seasons. They sponsor some of the race teams and drivers, and as well have incredible coffee to look at. Their wide selection of capsules you can get, as well as bean bags you can grab, are amazing to look at and as well smell and taste. So go to roastedgems.com, use promo code WSSR for 5% off to start your day off right. And as well, a big shout out to Trophy Smack. Well, the Rex, they've only had a handful of them, and if you're trying to capture your Trophy Smack moment, well, make sure you get your Wall Smack. Wall Smack is a metal plate that is easily movable on a wall-safe magnet mounting system that allows you to show off one of your favorite memories. It's completely customizable. Get a print of what you want, get an image, paste it, and you've got it on a wall smack. And once you go get your wall smack, remember to use the promo code WSSR SMACK for 10% off at trophysmack.com. Thank you so much to the amazing sponsors, and as well, big shout out to Brandon Colley's mom for giving us the qualifying grid sponsor as well. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Joshua Altis, and Josh, tonight's race, it's finally gotten to that spread out phase. Not a lot of battles going on, except for in the middle of the pack looks to be a slight battle between Ross Tatum and Nick Crawford, which Crawford has been having a terrible evening after his incident. As you can see, no front bumper and just in survival mode, and he is going to be dropping quickly with this lack of front bumper and speed in that engine.
Yeah, what's wild though, Sam, is he's still running P11 right now, so he's just outside the top 10. I know it's probably not the night he was hoping for, as he was running, solidly up in our top 5 a little earlier. But I mean, with how spread out things have gotten, I mean, the car's looking like a modified, and he's still running right outside the top 10. So he is going to peel off the pit road as I'm saying that now. So he could have been losing some power possibly, but yeah, tough night for Nick Crawford. But I'll still give him a little shout out for running solid up until that point.
Yeah, it was solid until that point. It looked to be coming to lap 28. That little kink counted as turn 12. Nick Crawford turned a little bit too soon, got into the left wall, that shut him out to the right wall, and that's where he got required damage. Forced to pit road was Nick Crawford, gifting a lot of positions now, placing Ross Tatum into the top 10. And also Cedric Hunter in 11th. Hunter is most likely not going to crack into the top 10, but up to 11th after starting on pit road. What an incredible day for the Hello Kitty 13 machine.
I mean, it's a great accomplishment, Sam. Nothing to shy away from. He started at the rear of the field, and to drive all the way up through the field with no cautions, and that car looks very clean. I don't really see any dings or bends on it or anything like that. So to have a clean Hello Kitty car this far into the race, running P11, I'd say that's a successful day so far for Cedric Hunter.
Hello Kitty machine's got some clouds on it. The clouds have certainly came out here late at Sonoma. You can see the dark gray, and the weather, we talked about how it could be changing throughout this race. Well, it's changed dramatically. When the race initially started, it was 101 degrees track temp. Ambient temperature was 79. Well, the ambient temperature has gone up a degree. The track temp has dropped dramatically. Now down to 94 degrees, extra grip. The wind's up to 13 miles per hour, but it's been shuffling back and forth between 10 to 15 all night long. And Josh, I mean, that weather change on the grip level, I mean, it dropped even another degree down to 93. This is going to be a wild night with these final 10 laps on how that extra grip might be influencing some of the drivers in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I agree, and not even in the middle of the field, but I'm looking toward the top of the leaderboard here, Sam. Zach Hall's starting to reel in Benjamin Nelson a little bit. He had, I think, 4.5, 5-second lead, and Zach Hall's gotten it to within about 3 seconds now. So I see you can see him going by another lap car here. With the weather changing here, I'm wondering if it's kind of helping this 32 car come alive a little bit late.
Looks to be helping just a little bit for Zach Hall. The gap now down to around 3 seconds. When they crossed the line, the gap was less than 3 seconds. So as the track ebbs and flows, right now everyone's trying to grab every little bit that they can on positioning. And Ken Campbell all the way down to 19th position, kind of in no man's land when talked about gaining positions. But at this current moment, he's just trying to putter and get a good solid top 20 run for himself. A driver having issues was our 4th place runner, and now it's fallen back to 5th. Cole Sacchetti having the same issue of some other drivers with the change from turn 1 up to turn 2. Breaks loose, and now has lost 4th place for the 42 to Brian with an eye Johnson.
I'm trying to look. It looks like he might have a little damage there right in the middle of right where you see the Impalas. We'll grab a replay look here. Who's going and
sorry, that was actually turn 3 where he had the
yeah,
issue where
wow.
he just loops it around. Brian getting a little ding there, but we'll get out of the way. See, Nick Crawford gets the required damage. He's back out on track in 18th position, but that little slip up, losing just 1 position, even with the crowd of drivers that they've put a lap down now, getting by.
Yeah, really no harm, no foul. I mean, that was definitely a little dangerous place to spin out, but he only lost 1 spot, so I'm sure he can settle back in and keep digging here.
As we look back to the 6th place, it's Brennan Colley. He's got to be careful because Colley's got a very fast driver behind him. That's the driver with some of the freshest tires of anyone out on track. Larry Yingling. Yingling has gotten by John Forbes. Trying to close in on another Putter's Oreos machine. And Larry Yingling, interesting strategy call, deciding to stay out the longest of anybody. He was solidified in our top 5. Well, now down to 7th. And he's got a lot of work if he wants to move forward and get to Kolsketi.
Yeah, it really put into perspective, Sam, just how fast Benjamin Nelson and Zach Hall were going, because I was kind of taking a look at the lap times here, and Larry Yingling pitted on lap 24, which is 4 laps after our leaders, and our leaders were still running, a couple tenths faster than Larry, so it's crazy to see how much speed those front 2 guys have. But yeah, Larry's been able to kind of pick his way back through the field here. He's got his sights on Brandon Colley next, and might try to get a top 5 out of this before it's all said and done.
Trying to run down, if it's possible, through turn 11, one of the slowest corners on this course, and back up into 2nd, 3rd, 4th gear is the maximum you're going to hit right before you get to turn 1. Quick bend, get up to turn 2. This quick little switchback movement is where drivers got loose throughout the field, but a clean, smooth, showing the grip is there as we hop on board with the 67. Larry is looking very smooth at this moment. Down into turn 3, 3A, 3B, over the crest, where drivers can sometimes get loose, and you really can't see where that exit point is off the corner. I mean, Josh, a very dangerous at 3B coming off that corner.
It really is, Sam, and it's like we saw it earlier. It's really easy. You can hit those rumble strips, and it can really upset the car if you don't hit it right. And man, look at this run. You can see him getting right on Brandon Colley, going to enter the S's right here. You don't really want to try to make the pass through here because it's going to be really sketchy if you can get side by side. He's going to do his best he can to close right up to the bumper here. Going to be a hard left-hander coming up here and then back to the right. And then you got a lap car up here, so if he can get close enough, he might try to outbrake him, but not quite sure if he's close enough.
It's going to be more maybe a patience game. Let's first get by Kaufman, and then we'll attack one another. And just like that, James Kaufman has fallen behind, and the battle is back on for who's going to get 6th place. Colley is rolling steady right now for himself. For our leaders, though, we talked about how Zach Hall was closing in the gap. It is now down to when the last time they crossed the line, it was 2.1 seconds. That's been a second and a half gain from when this run first initially started. And the last couple of laps, Zach Hall has been just a couple of tenths faster. You can see there when it's in white on the bottom, that means Zach has not been closing in the gap. It's been some pretty big chunks the last couple of go-arounds. Zach Hall is trying to find that little bit of inking speed to find maybe a miracle here late with 7, about to be 6 laps to go.
Yeah, I don't know if Zach Hall found a little something, or maybe the 79's fallen off just a little bit, or maybe a little bit of both, Sam. But there's no doubt that Zach Hall has closed the gap. I mean, he's essentially cut Benjamin Nelson's lead in half now. So just a tick over 2 seconds now, and we talked about it. We've been talking about it all night, Sam. It could come down to just maybe Benjamin Nelson catching a lap car at the wrong time, and could easily lose half a second to a second if that happens. So I think as long as Zach Hall is within breathing distance, this thing's not over.
Now I've got something that's going to be fun. Now we've seen a couple of onboard views of road course racing with a wheel. I got a feeling that running a road course with the controller might be a little bit more curious to watch at. Our points leader back in 12th position, having pressure by Joshua Kanata. Let's do it right along with Shane Terrian and see what a running with the controller is like at Sonoma. Because Josh, I've watched the last couple of corners. It is very snappy. You can tell it's a controller because how quick you're seeing the wheel turn. But he's smooth at times. And this is the graceful driving that Shane Terrian can give us.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with this, Sam, because I mean, you can see the little twitchy inputs here, which you can imagine the analog stick on a gaming controller. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty smooth though overall. You don't see a ton of sawing on the wheel. Pretty smooth for Shane Terrian.
Smooth, slow little adjustments, and what makes this even more impressive is that with the steering wheel that drivers usually run, they are seeing, as that quick little jab, they usually can feel with what we call force feedback on how the wheel adjusts, and when the car gets light, the steering wheel feels light. When there's a very aggressive tug, you know how to react. With this controller, you don't have force feedback. This is all visual on, is the car looking like it's getting loose? Well, I need to react quickly. And right now, the Night Machine is making it work at this moment, as that was a lap around with Shane Terrian using a controller.
Yeah, just different styles we talk about all the time, right, Sam? So it's very interesting not having the kind of feedback that you normally get in a wheel. And so, yeah, just a different style, but Shane Terrian makes it work for himself, and he's our current points leader. So maybe he knows something that we don't know.
He might, as the drivers continue to race. It's one of the best battles on track. Shane Terrian and Joshua Kanata, who's going to get 12th place between the two. Shane Terrian's moved up 6 spots from where he started. Kanata is down 1. He's trying to get that 1 position back with 4 laps to go. Update on the lead. Well, Zach Hall's gap, well, it all dwindled away. It is now back to over 4 seconds, the difference between first and second. And it was a quick and good valiant by Zach, but I think for Ben, he was just saving those tires for this last little jolt and letting Zach burn up his rubber, imagining that he was catching up, but instead, it's now down to Benjamin Nelson, just pulling away at almost 5 seconds now as they're going down into turn number 7.
Yeah, Benjamin Nelson just hit the afterburner, Sam, out of nowhere. So I think he fooled us all, because it looked like Zach Hall was going to give him a run for his money here toward the end, and I guess he heard us talking about that and figured he'd drive away.
There's strategy involved. Oh, it's all over. It's all done. And just like that, Benjamin Nelson, he was fastest during practice, didn't get the fastest during qualifying. That went to Zach Hall. But Benjamin Nelson took 14 laps once he got the lead. There was really no sense that he was going to lose it. Maybe for a couple of laps, thought Zach Hall could close in the gap. Well, instead, it's 3 laps to go when Benjamin Nelson crosses the line, and 3 more laps to see if there will be any more issues in front of him.
Yeah, pretty clean sailing right now for Benjamin Nelson. And he's just run a great race, Sam. We talked about Zach Hall grabbing the pole position and how how important that could be, but so far it looks like Benjamin Nelson, he's done a really good job. He was patient. He rode behind Zach Hall and waited for Zach to just make that one little mistake there in turn 11, and he jumped on him, and it's pretty much been all Benjamin Nelson since.
It's been a great run so far. 13 drivers are on the lead lap currently. At the pace we're seeing right now, there's a chance that we could be down to just 11 on the lead lap as Benjamin Nelson's trying to catch up to Shane Terrian and Joshua Kanata, who were looking at a couple laps ago and on how their battle was going. Another good battle that's going on track is the battle for 8th place. John Forbes, Isaiah Sutherland, Forbes. They had some slight squabbles last week at North Wilkesboro, very close to one another. Isaiah Sutherland, with the aggression, was trying to get by the 11. It just didn't work out at times. And now, with 3 laps to go, getting by Brian with an eye. Johnson, who was out in the dirt. It looks like John Forbes is feeling the pressure, and slight mistakes are starting to blossom.
And this is where you got to be careful, Sam. Did you see Isaiah Sutherland? He's going to throw it to the inside here, try to make it stick, and I think he might. No, John Forbes going to fight back. And it looks like Isaiah Sutherland's going to get him right before the S's. So I was just going to say right before that, Sam, this is kind of the point in the race where you want to be careful, right? Because you've run all race, you've done a really good job, you put yourself in position for a solid night, and you don't want to throw it away by just making a silly mistake when you're trying to get one more position. So, I'm sure John Forbes, he's going to try to mount one last little charge here at Isaiah Sutherland, but he did the right thing by kind of letting him go in those S's.
He certainly did. And Benjamin Nelson, we move back to, because the 79, he got the lead with 14 laps into this race, and since then, it has been all that of the 79 machine. Benjamin Nelson came into this race. We knew that he was a former peak antifreeze, otherwise known as the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series back in the day. And he stepped away from pro racing, decided, you know what, let's try out the WSSR Roast of Gems Cup Series. I had a feeling that this driver was going to be the hardest one to beat throughout the season. Got to give kudos to the field. They held back Benjamin Nelson many a times, but with your Roast of Gems white flag, just 1 lap to go for Benjamin Nelson to try to grab his 3rd win of the season.
Yeah, Benjamin Nelson, he's been the class of the field tonight, Sam. All kudos to Zach Hall. Definitely want to give Zach Hall a shout out. A shout out. He did a really good job getting the pole and leading some laps tonight. But Benjamin Nelson, we've talked about it. He's got 2 wins this year. He's on the way to his 3rd win, Sam. And you talk about title contenders, the 79's got to be the top of everyone's list right now.
I mean, he certainly is. And with us only just having 2 more races after this, Dover, Charlotte, who will beat Benjamin Nelson once the playoffs start and the points reset on where will the 79's pace be? That first round is going to be crucial for a lot of drivers. Talladega Auto Club at the end of September. But with the end of August, it has been Benjamin Nelson down through the S's, setting up for the last couple of corners, and Benjamin Nelson has been clean. He got the fastest lap, so he'll get himself his bonus point of the Rocket Man Award. And through turn 11, coming to the end of the race, there have been 7 drivers. The only driver with multiple wins is the 79, and he grabs his 3rd one of the season here for the Wine Country Clash at Sonoma Raceway. Congratulations to Benjamin Nelson. Zach Hall going to be just 5 seconds back as he's crossed the line. Christopher Norris going to be grabbing 3rd. We'll be talking to those 3 drivers, and still yet to finish is Brian with a Y Johnson in 4th place.
Yeah, great win by Benjamin Nelson. He did exactly what he needed to do tonight. He kept his car clean and he was patient, got it all done. And man, it just goes to show, Sam, just how far these leaders were in front of everyone. As we see, Cole Sacchetti going to be our 5th place man coming across the line now. So almost 40 seconds back is the 5th place driver from our top 2 drivers here. So these guys put on a clinic tonight, and they should be proud.
And we're still waiting on drivers still to finish. Shane Terrian is just about to enter turn 11 as Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, Benjamin Nelson get to celebrate. I mean, what a team effort by that group, all from Snowy Desert Racing. Is Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, Benjamin Nelson. I think Nick Crawford had a great chance to make it 4 out of the top 5 to beat Snowy Desert Racing. Instead, that Nick Crawford will fall to 17th. But what a charge as the last couple of drivers have crossed the line. The 79 gets to have fun, and our top 3, the teammates, They'll have fun burning it down as they get to find some open space. And here we go. It's celebration time in wine country as Benjamin Nelson gets to have fun around that of the tire walls.
And not only Benjamin Nelson, but his teammates are doing some burnouts too, Sam. So we got the whole group doing some burnouts. So these guys are having some fun, and they deserve it, man. Great runs by all three of those guys tonight. So these guys can enjoy it.
Dominance by Snowy Desert Racing. They just took the team championship lead after last week's finish, and they'll expect for that lead to grow after tonight. Well, for us, as they get to have fun out on track, we will step away. We have the post-race show where we'll talk to our top three and a spotlight driver right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, race number 9. It was a wine country clash at Sonoma Raceway. And the driver you just saw there, slipping and sliding, turn 1, lost a little bit of ground to our leader of Zach Hull on lap 1. Benjamin Nelson found his way forward, made it work, and got into victory lane for the 3rd time this season. Ben, it's Sam and Josh up at the booth. Congratulations on winning the one and only road course of the season. Man, how are you feeling after this one? We just saw there on the replay of your slip up coming off the exit of turn 1 into turn 2. I mean, how are you feeling after that little slip up and then finding yourself in victory lane?
Well, first of all, I am over the moon. That was a tough one. That was a hard battle. Granted, we didn't have a whole lot of actual side by side, but the drivers know, people that know racing know that was a lot of looking back and forth, trying to not make mistakes, checking the gap, checking the gap, checking the gap. And man, I am so pumped after that. But I was making a few mistakes. That's for sure. I was trying to limit them, but I was doing the H pattern up turn one, and it's a little hard sometimes. You get off rhythm, and I just messed up, and it carried on through really the whole half of that lap because you get the rear sliding, and you're hot. You know, there's nothing you can do until they cool back down.
Yeah, Ben, congratulations, man, on your third win of the season. Talk a little bit about you. You talk about slipping up here and there a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about just how intense the mental focus it takes to be good at these road courses, and what specifically made you so good here, man?
Uh, the mental focus basically is you got to be basically on it every second because if as soon as you look at that gap at the wrong time, you're off your line and you might be in the fence. It's really all it takes because there's no grip around here with these cars. I wish there was a little bit more, but that's what we got. So we have to manage, especially on the throttle. Even if you're just a little like 10, 20% too much throttle in certain places, even on the front stretch, you're asking to go into the inside wall. And it's you have to be laser focused. You can't lapse. But it's it's nuts being part of this this league. I know we didn't have cautions like in general, but I thought the racing was all right through what I saw through the relative in my mirror. But what was the second question you asked?
Just what exactly makes you so good here, man? Like, I know you talked about having the mental focus and everything, but is there a certain technique that you do? Because I mean, you were just so much faster than everyone out there tonight.
I don't think I was that much faster than Zach. I think he was just blocking his brakes up in 11 too much. If he had cut down on that, I think he would have been even quicker. It would have been even more of a battle. But anyway, really, I just have a lot of practice here. I used to race with a lot of the Coke guys here, so I have quite a bit of backlog of things that I remembered, mistakes that I've made in the past, things that worked for me in other cars. It's just piecing those all together and trying not to make a mistake. Do while doing all of that, and uh, I do have quite a few laps here. That's pretty much how it is.
Well, Ben, it was still very impressive tonight's race on how you got to the lead and was able to pull away. We got two more races left before the playoffs. Are you thinking about playoffs yet, or are you still thinking, I want to win these races before the playoffs begin?
I mean, we're always playoffs are in the back of our minds, but no, I want to win. I'm going there to win every week.
Well, Ben, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform next week at Dover. And before we officially let you go here tonight, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my team for the 1-2-3. That was awesome. Snowy Desert. Um, I'd also like to give a shout out to you guys for the amazing broadcast you do. Missed you last week, but that one was a little ugly, so we'll let that slide. And anyway, I'd also like to thank my parents that are watching. They give me all the support I could ever want. And a few of my coworkers are also watching, so shout out to you guys. Anyone else watching my stream on YouTube right now, that would be cool if you guys saw this as well. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Well, that will be the 79 machine of Benjamin Nelson. Congratulations on your third win this season, and good luck next week.
Thank you, guys.
Well, from victory lane, we head down to second place. The driver that was quick, got the pole, led the first 14 laps, and then was trying to recovery run. Didn't happen, but still a solid performance. Zach, congratulations on second. I know this is kind of coming in tonight, was the window you were expecting to finish, but were you expecting those first 14 laps to start out the way that they did?
Yeah, I knew when I got the pole. I didn't expect to get the pole. I expected to start second. First off, Benjamin Nelson, that dude is a beast because he's so good. I mean, I've watched this guy race Bobby Zielinski here and keep up with him, and he's definitely the hardest challenge I've ever had on a road course. Maybe up there with like Vincent Sore and Brian Johnson's. I have a few battles with those guys, but man, it was tough. I tried to manage out front. I just struggle in turn 11. I got to fix that. I don't know what my problem was. I'm locking the right front there a little bit, and I knew if he got close, he was going to have a good shot there, and I just made that simple mistake, gave him the lead, and from there, I mean, having the lead is so crucial, especially when we're that close in speed. I felt like he was just that tick faster, so once he got out there, he could kind of drive away. But man, nonetheless, to keep it as close as we did and the battle coming down to the end, I'm still happy. Like I said, this is one of my favorite tracks up there, and just to come out here with a solid finish, especially after last week in North Wilkesboro, I'm definitely still very, very happy.
Well, Zach, congratulations, man, on a really solid P2 run. I know it wasn't quite the win that you were hoping for, but I said it on the broadcast right toward the end. I said I want to give Zach a huge shout out because I mean Benjamin Nelson was really lights out tonight, but you did a great job getting the pole and leading. My question is, I saw you make kind of a late push. It looked like Benjamin was able to gap you a little bit after the pit stops, and then you kind of made a late charge and got the lead within 2 seconds. Is there anything else you feel like you could have done, or is that about all you had at that point?
The one thing I wish going back, if I could change something, is my out lap after we changed tires. Like, wow, I wish I kind of would have practiced that a little bit. I just didn't expect the cold tires to really not fire off too well. In that first lap, I think I lost a second and a half to him. Like it was, it was not a good opening lap there. But started, I mean, yeah, to take time out of him. I was being really smooth that run because I was like, man, he's already got a good lead. Like if I try to go run him down, if literally anytime you try to push in this car here at this track, especially snow with the low grip, anytime you push, you're just gonna lose more time than you gain, really. And I started to run him down, and you start getting that feeling of, oh man, I'm getting closer, and you start to. It's almost you tell yourself not to push, but I did just a little bit more, and I started to slide, and there was 2 laps there where the tires were on fire. I mean, I was holding on for dear life. I almost wrecked 2 of those laps there, but yeah, I mean, we recovered the last three there, and kind of got the tires back in somewhat the range that it needs to be. But it's so difficult. It just overstep 1 minute, and the tires are on fire, and you got to bring them back to earth.
Zach, I mean, your team, Sony Desert Racing, really performed here this week, taking the team championship lead after last week's race. Sadly, we weren't able to broadcast, but what's the team atmosphere like? I know Nick Crawford had the slip up, got caught up in an incident that cost him a lot of time, but the 1, 2, 3 for yourself, Ben, and Norris. I mean, what is the team morale like after a performance like this?
Team morale's pretty high, man. It's bittersweet because Nick, man, I feel so bad for him because I practiced with him out throughout the week, and I really feel like if not a third place to second place or fourth place car, really, I think he was right in that range with us, and I think we could have had a 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was kind of the goal coming in tonight is get maximum points and see, be the first team to really 1, 2, 3, 4 or something out there. But I mean, we'll take it 1, 2, 3. I know Nick got caught up in that. I feel really bad for him because it sucks just to get someone else's mistake that kind of ruins your race. So we'll bounce back and move on for him for the next week. But definitely great morale going around. Especially we're definitely going to come out here, I think, and gain some more points on the teams behind us. As there was a few teams that are right behind us that struggled. So I'm excited, man. We got a great team going. I think we can if we continue down this streak, we should be able to close out this team championship.
Certainly could be. Well, Zach, congratulations again on second. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Well, thank you guys first off in the booth. It's always a pleasure to have y'all broadcasting our race here at Freaky Fast Broadcast, and it's really fun to go back and watch. And I'll have to go back and check that out. I know road courses can be a little bit boring. It's back and forth, tit for tat. It's not really side by side racing too much, but it was definitely still a fun race. And I hope it was for you guys up in the booth. Shout out to the league sponsors, TrophySmack.com and Roasted Gems Coffee for all they do. And we got some other sponsors coming on here soon, hopefully. And, man, it's looking bright. But shout out to the team at Snow Desert Racing and everybody that tuned in. And can't wait to move on to next week to Dover and see how bad I'm there.
Can't wait for it. Well, that is going to be this 32 of Zach Hall. Congratulations on second, and good luck at Dover next week.
Thank you, guys.
Well, from second place, let's go down to third, where Christopher Norris kind of had his race on his own. He had a quick battle of keeping it close those first couple of laps, then had to worry about Cole Sacchetti, and then at the end of the day, he was all on his lonesome. Chris, you come away in third place. Congratulations on the third place finish. Man, how are you feeling after a performance like that here this evening?
Pretty ecstatic, man. Having two podium finishes in this league 2 weeks in a row, it's pretty exciting to have.
Yeah, congratulations, Christopher, on your great P3 run there. We just talked to Zach about the kind of team aspect, and we got to see you guys all celebrate as you took over the team points lead this race. Talk about just kind of how special it is for you to have a solid run here tonight, and not only to do that, but just your team to do it in style 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I talked about it in practice. It was like it in practice for the lap times, and it was almost like it in qualifying. I think we deserved a 1 through 4. Nick is an amazing road course racer. He just got into some bad luck with lap traffic. Showing the speed we had in practice, I think we would have, had ourselves a 1 through 4th. Extend that one first through third. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a great race. Like you guys mentioned, I raced by myself for the most of it, but I'm starting to learn I'm pretty consistent on road courses. So I just kept up that consistency and gauged myself from not overdriving it, but also not losing time behind me. I knew Ben and Zach are insane at road courses, so I just kind of expected to stay right behind them, but that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to lose any positions to them.
Well, Norris, after that race, you're going to come away 8th in points, and with 2 more races left before the playoffs, you look pretty solidified to stay in those inside of the top 16. What is your mentality for these next 2 races? What are you hoping to gain before playoffs start?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it'd probably just be, maybe just continue with the better finishes. Try to stay in the top 10, top 5. Honestly, with the skill in this league, I kind of expected, oh, it's going to be a top 20 league. I'm going back to my roots of not finishing any better than 15th, 12th. But honestly, it's been a surprise season. I haven't finished worse than 15th, I believe. So I just want to keep that momentum up, especially going into the playoffs. And I'm excited to see what we can do, especially at Talladega with the team aspect we have.
And Talladega should be a fun one. That's going to be first race of the round of first round of the playoffs. Congratulations, Norris, on a 3rd place finish. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Of course, want to shout out my parents. My mom and dad actually started watching these races a few weeks back, so glad to have them watch and enjoy the show, especially when I can do them proud. Especially since my mom has never been a NASCAR fan, so she started to love this and she's been watching it ever since. You guys for the great show. My teammates, Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson, Nick Crawford, the admins of this league for putting on a great show, and also Lids Sports Group. CustomLids.com, you guys can get yourself a custom hat. They look amazing. I'd recommend it.
That is going to be the 38 machine of Christopher Norris. Congratulations on 3rd, and good luck next week at Dover.
Thank you.
Well, from 3rd place, let's go talk to a driver that we harped on the fact that he had to climb his way all the way forward, started on pit road, and ultimately finished in 11th. We have Cedric Hunter in the 13 pink Hello Kitty machine. Cedric, congratulations on 11th. I know not the finish you wanted after qualifying 9th, but man, how are you feeling after that recovery run from the start of the race to the end?
Considering what happened, I feel pretty good. Wish I would have gotten that one last spot. I was starting to reel in Ross, but didn't get the top 10. I kind of had set a goal for myself when I came into this race. Obviously, not expecting to get the VR problems, which is why I had to leave right at the end of qualifying and rejoin the session. I am planning on fixing that this weekend because I think it's like the third or maybe 4th time across like multiple leagues where it's happened to me over the last month where VR stops working right before the race and just puts a wrench in it. So good recovery run tonight. Obviously, I would have preferred to start in 9th. I think we could have, if I would have started in 9th, I think I maybe could have finished like 7th or I don't know if I had top 5 pace, but I don't know. I guess it's I'm just gonna have to imagine, I guess, and settle for an 11th place finish.
Hey Cedric, I mean, solid run, man. I mean, despite the VR equipment issues, you're able to rally through. Talk, take us a little bit through your night and just talk about some of the challenges you had driving from the back of the pack to a solid P11 finish.
Yeah, I'll say like the biggest challenge was passing people and just, well, actually the biggest challenge would have been probably just driving the car. This car is a handful on the road courses. Um, Getting to experience that tonight. I mean, I'm not great at this track to begin with, and the fact that the car presents its own challenges definitely made it tricky. And then, I mean, kind of like real life, I guess. Like this track only has 2, maybe 3 passing zones if you kind of just send it in. So trying to capitalize um, on those passing opportunities when you get there is a challenge in itself as well. So was happy. I think I've probably made the most passes tonight, and I'm happy to have that under my belt. I think we're going to the Roval later this season, so we'll have a better idea, I guess, on what to expect. Plus, I'm just better at that track, so if we don't have technical problems, hopefully we can come home with the top 5 there.
We're open for it. Well, Cedric, I know I asked the same question to Norris, but to yourself, we got 2 more races before the playoffs begin. What are you hoping to learn or grow before the playoffs begin?
Um, the main thing I'm just trying to get better at is just qualifying, putting myself in a better position, I guess, just to start the race. Like, I feel like I have pretty good pace, like race pace, at least for the second half, which is kind of something I've been known for, I guess, for close to 5 or so years, where um, which I guess just comes with a lack of practice. So uh, the speed doesn't really come in till later on in the race. So that's definitely going to be something I'm going to try working on. Just getting more comfortable with the car going to the playoffs. I know there's a lot of really good tracks for me in the playoffs. Unfortunately, I won't be in town for Richmond in round 2. So Kansas is just going to be a must win for me when we get there. So um, I don't know. It's interesting. Obviously, a lot easier said than done when it comes to winning this league. So do I see myself making the round of 3, missing a race in the round of 2? Definitely, probably not. Um, but anything can happen, and just gotta keep digging.
Well, we hope that you can perform well these next few weeks to set yourself up for the playoffs, Cedric. Again, congratulations on recovering to get 11th. No, it wasn't that top 10 you wanted, but still a solid day for yourself. And got to say, anything else you want to say, the floor is yours.
I appreciate it. As always, I want to give you guys a shout out. I'm assuming, other than probably the battle up front and maybe 1 or 2 more battles throughout the field, is probably uh, more of a spread out race. At least from my point of view, kind of seemed that way. So thank you to you guys for doing everything that you guys do. Thanks to all the fans out there that tune in. I saw that we had a bunch of people in chat throughout the race. So thank you so much, guys, for the interactions. Huge shout out to all the league drivers that showed up tonight, and the ones that have been showing up throughout the pretty much on a weekly basis for the season. Thank you to my admin team, as well as Steve in race control, for helping us out and doing everything that they do. And shout out to Lucky Ducks. We had a extremely rough race tonight. And hopefully we'll be able to bounce back at Dover next week. And lastly, huge shout out to Roasted Gems Coffee and Trophy Smack for being the sponsors for our series overall this season. Feel free to check them out. They have really great products.
Well, that is going to be the 13 machine. Cedric Hunter, congratulations on 11th place, and good luck at Dover next week.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yep, as we go from our interviews, we keep ourselves prepared for the unofficial results. Do want to give our last shout outs of the sponsors, which is going to be Roasted Gems Coffee. Roasted Gems Coffee has been the title sponsor for here at WSSR the last couple of seasons. It's been a pleasure to have them with us. To find loyalty in sponsors can sometimes be a hard thing, but this is the coffee brand that you want to be loyal to, because they've got some premium coffee, a wide range of selections on coffees and flavors, as well as great merch. If you haven't checked out the merch that Roasted Gems Coffee has, go check it out by going to roastedgems.com, and remember to use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. And a huge shout out to Trophy Smack. Go be the envy of your competition by showing off your amazing custom championship belt, ring, trophy, or wall smack. Go to trophysmack.com. Get your wall smack, get your custom trophy, and when you do, remember to use the promo code WSSR SMACK for 10% off. Big thank you as well to that being Brandon Colley's mom for sponsoring the qualifying results. And now let's take a look at our unofficial results on where the drivers finished here tonight for the Wine Country Clash. Race number 9 certainly was a bash at times. It came down to 2 drivers, Zach Hall, Benjamin Nelson. Who was going to get the win? Well, it went to the 79 of Benjamin Nelson. Second goes to Zach Hall. Third was Christopher Norris. Fourth was Brian with the Y Johnson. Cole Sketty in 5th with Larry Yingling in 6th. The one of Brandon Colley in 7th. Isaiah Sutherland, 8th. 9th is John Forbes, and finishing out our top 10 goes to Ross Tatum.
And as we look a little further down the leaderboard here outside the top 10, a couple of highlighted drivers I want to talk about. Cedric Hunter, we just talked to him. He seemed pretty disappointed, Sam, and I guess that's to be expected when you have an equipment failure and it kind of puts you behind the 8 ball to start out the night. But nevertheless, really good rally for Cedric Hunter, finishing P11. Some other guys right behind him: Joshua Kanata, Shane Tyrion. Solid runs for those guys tonight. I think Josh was happy with the top 15. Shane Tyrion, our points leader, a solid night. As we scroll down a little further, some heartbreakers. Nick Crawford, we just talked to all his teammates, finishing 1st through 3rd. He had really strong speed with those guys as well. Was on pace for a top 5 night until we had some calamity strike right at that pit road entrance there with a lap car. So tough night for him, as well as we scroll a little further down to Douglas Newbigging in P20. We saw him spin off track once as well. So a couple tough nights for these guys, but overall I think these guys did a really good job tonight, Sam. A couple incidents here and there, but I think some guys will be happy to put the road course behind them, but guys like Benjamin Nelson, Zach Hall, it was a great night for those guys.
It certainly was, as the Snowy Desert drivers will carry on the torch of a fabulous night for themselves. But for everyone else in the league, it's time to settle in, prepare. If you're outside of the top 16, technically the top 14, you need to buckle down, either get a win or get some massive points if you're going to make the playoffs. And it's going to be a great shootout the next couple of weeks for these drivers, as it's going to be Dover and Charlotte, the last 2 races of the regular season. The drama is mounting up, Josh. It's going to be fun to watch how this grouping decides to take on the concrete in one of the most well-known tracks in iRacing and in NASCAR heading into the Charlotte Oval.
Yeah, I agree, Sam. You got the Monster Mile next week of Dover. Talk about the concrete and just how fast things happen there. That's, I think, what I'm most excited for next week. It's just those guys are just absolutely hauling around that track. So one little mistake, there's not really anywhere to hide if you're slow or in the way. So could see some calamity next week, and then coming down to the regular season end at Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of the most popular tracks out here in iRacing. So I feel like a lot of guys will have some confidence heading to Charlotte, and for those guys on the bubble, I mean, these next 2 weeks are going to be extremely important to see who can point their way in, or who might be able to snag a win and get themselves into the playoffs.
Getting in the playoffs is going to be the key thing to talk about these next couple of weeks here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as we've got the WSSR closing in on the regular season being done, and other leagues also preparing. Well, if you want to see more Gen 4 Cup Series action, tomorrow night's the night to do so. The Stars and Stripes Racing Series take the Gen 4 cars to Kentucky to figure out who's going to win the College Kickoff 200. It's college themed with college football starting up this weekend. It's time to get yourself prepared for all the college action. Stars and Stripes is a way to start out. Then we get the weekend off. Monday is back to more coverage of the ISRC Truck Series, as it's their last race of the regular season. Who's in, who's out in the playoffs? Time to watch Richmond short track racing in the trucks. Then on Tuesday night, Full Send Racing Series Xfinity car. They're going to be testing their skills out at Spa. More road course racing for those drivers. Then we're right back here next week. Dover, Monster Mile. Who's going to get it done? And Josh, some plenty of great racing action we have scheduled coming up.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome, Sam. It was a great race tonight. I know sometimes the road courses can be a little dull at times, but I thought it was a great race. I mean, we got a little bit of everything. Honestly, we had a great battle between Zach Hall and Benjamin Nelson for the lead there. Benjamin Nelson did everything he needed to do to kind of separate himself from the pack, grabbed his 3rd win of the season. And he looks to be one of the championship favorites right now, and had some calamity. We talked about Nick Crawford not having the night that he probably feels he deserved, but just one of those things that trouble can sneak up on you when you're not expecting it. So got a little bit of everything tonight, but it was Benjamin Nelson that was the man that came out on top tonight.
He got it done and was on top of the board. And the one thing for these drivers, maybe you weren't a fan of road course racing. Well, luckily you don't have to deal with it for the WSSR anymore for season 7. The rest of the races are going to be our traditional ovals to watch out for. So get yourself prepared. The Gen 4s are going to be ripping and rolling each and every week from here on out, and it's going to be a good one to watch. But for tonight, the one road course of the season went to the 79 of Benjamin Nelson, as well as the Rocket Man Award. The one bonus point given to the driver that puts down the fastest lap of the race also goes to the 79 machine. Thank you so much to the audience, for everyone that was watching with us, chatting throughout the race. We appreciate you so much. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Joshua Altus, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you so much for joining with us. Tomorrow night, it's going to be Thursday for the Stars and Stripes Racing Series. Who's winning at Kentucky? You'll have to find out on our next Freaky Fast broadcast.